come Spider-Man, Spider-Man, does whatever Spider can. Shoot away any sign, scratch his teeth, just like that. Look out! There comes the Spider-Man, there comes the Spider-Man.
How's it going, people of YouTube? My name is Adam and welcome to Aduda Reviews, an entertainment channel for entertainment purposes where I cover TV, movies and music, and in this case games and all that wonderful stuff. And if you like the sound of that, then maybe consider liking and subscribing. I've just completed Marvel's Spider-Man 2 for the PlayStation 5 and my review is that I absolutely loved it. Thought it was great. Wearing the t-shirt to commemorate the fact that Venom was in it. It was such a good game. It did have its flaws. I'm not going to say it's a perfect game because it wasn't, and I'll detail those. So this is my review for the game and how I got on with it. I haven't completed it in total. I've completed the story. I didn't want to spend 70 quid on a game and then just, you know, have it completed within a couple of days or something like that, which is possible to do, or within a day probably, some of these players. But I've still got a lot to do, a lot of the side missions to do, and I'm just really enjoying the game, taking it in. The graphics have definitely improved from back in the day when I used to play the Spider-Man game on the Sega Master System back in the 90s. If you compare the graphics of back then to now, it's like absolutely ridiculous how far we've come graphic wise. So the story itself was basically picking up where the last game left off. The last game left off with Harry Osborn being ill and his father like using this technology or this goop to help revive him. That goop being the Venom symbiote that we all know. So the game begins with a massive opening sequence with the Sandman. This whole sequence is sort of to get you used to the traversal, get used to the mechanics of the game, but also it's like a really cool way of like showing you the map as well and the expanse of the map. And it's just and the fact that there's the two characters, so you're not just Spider-Man in this one and you're not just Miles Morales, you're both, and you have to cohesively work together in this one as well, which is cool. And the fact that you can just sort of flick between the different characters is really cool as well. But that opening sequence was really cool and I loved the whole look of everything. Sandman was a really cool character to begin with. He's always been like a Spider-Man side character, but at the same time he's still a big character in himself. But he's never like the number one villain or anything like that. The person who is a number one villain in this game, I think, is Kraven the Hunter. He is so good in this. The guy who does the voice for him is excellent. I think his characterization in this is spot on. He definitely is a threat in this game and he feels like a looming threat. The way he's sort of interwoven within the storylines is really good. And you just feel the menace of Kraven the Hunter.
Kill or be killed.
The game sort of meanders a little bit within the story before getting to the main bulk of the storyline. In between the opening, then you suddenly drawn into sort of things like the Coney Island thing, where you are going on rides and things with Harry and Mary Jane, and there's the scene where you flash back to when you're younger and you're young Peter Parker breaking into the school and doing hijinks with Harry. So this is all before the storyline itself really kicks off, but all of that sort of stuff is to kind of like get you used to the game and everything like that as well as sort of I guess it's expanding the game length a bit, because there have been some complaints about the length of the game.
You said it was a good size.
I think the length of the game was good enough for me, that's for sure. It's about the same length as the original Spider-Man game, so there's not really a lot to complain about there. I think I'm still playing the game now, like I say, and for me, the game really comes alive. I love the fact where I can just relax now and I can just swing around the city and do what I want. I love the fact that I can do that. There's loads of little challenges that I can do, loads of little side missions. As much as I love the story, and the story is fantastic, I love just the fact that I can just swing around and do what I please. So I'm loving that now. So there's a cool scene where Harry gets the symbiote suit, and to begin with, he's kind of got the Agent Venom suit. So it looks like he's got the Agent Venom suit, and he is a superhero alongside Spider-Man. They fight together. Spider-Man gets into real trouble and it looks like he's going to die, so Harry gives him the suit, and this is where the black symbiote suit Spider-Man that we all know and love comes to play, basically. This guy right here. So as we know from the comics, this kind of messes up his brain, and after a little while he starts to become real angry and really aggressive towards Mary Jane.
Hey.
What's wrong with you?
So he eventually gets the suit off, and Harry takes on the suit again, and this is where Harry becomes Venom. So the Venom that we know from the storyline comics being Eddie Brock, now it's Harry Osborn, which is a good transition. I think it makes sense within the storyline of the game. All the while, Kraven the Hunter is hunting the different villains. So there's a scene with Lizard, and I love this. The whole scene with the Lizard was so good. I loved all of that. It looked really good. Kurt Connors and everything, and he purposely gets Kurt Connors and injects him with some serum to turn him into the Lizard again, so he can hunt him. So this whole sort of thing is like, and it turns out that Kraven the Hunter is dying, and that's the whole reason that he wants to have this one big last hunt. And the ultimate hunt for him is the symbiote costume, or Venom. And when Harry turns into Venom, that's when he's like, right, this is the ultimate. And that's when you become Venom in the game, and which is for a short period, which I thought was really cool being him, but at the same time I found his controls a little bit clunky. I remember playing it and I was like, it didn't feel as fluid and as free as when you were playing Spider-Man. So, and then you defeat Kraven, and you actually eat him and bite his head off, which is a really cool scene. They actually showed it, which I didn't suspect they would. Then we have a scene with Mary Jane gets turned into a symbiote, and then there's like symbiotes everywhere, and it turns into this whole sort of symbiote game. And everywhere you turn, there's like rogue symbiotes. Then it's down to the three of them, Miles, Peter, and Mary Jane, to save Harry. They're trying to save Harry from the symbiote, but I think at this point it was too late. So they eventually get the suit off him, but Harry dies, or at least they think he dies. But then Miles has a go with his electric powers and actually manages to bring him back to life. I think this is just so that Peter isn't responsible for killing him, basically. So he does come back to life, and at the end he's kind of brain dead, and we're left with him in hospital and Norman Osborn coming in and blaming the Spider-Men, because obviously it's their fault for some reason. He blames them for Harry being in this coma that he's in now. And he, at the end, says, get the G serum, which is obviously the Goblin serum. So it's an indication of the things to come in the game, where there's going to be like Green Goblin. And I can't wait for that. It's going to be so good to finally see Green Goblin in the final chapter. But yeah, that's pretty much the story in a nutshell. And it was like a really fun playthrough. I really enjoyed the game. The graphics looked so good. The side missions were really good too. So we had other indications of things to come, maybe in DLC or perhaps in the next game. We had Cletus Cassidy, aka Carnage. He was only revealed later on to be Cletus Cassidy, because I had no idea that it was him. Other than the red hair, you wouldn't have guessed, because he sort of he was part of this cult, and the leader of this cult, Cletus Cassidy, who we didn't know was Cletus Cassidy at the time, gets the symbiote and it turns red, and then he says there's going to be carnage. It was just like, cheesy line, but like, it's cool the way that's linked in. What I really love about the game as well is there's loads of different suits. I love all the different suits you can get. My current favorite suit, and I absolutely love the suit, is the classic black symbiote suit that you can get. There's also the anti-Venom suit, which is a really cool suit, which is the white Venom suit as well, and the powers that come along with that are really good as well. I love wearing the original suit because it makes you really feel like Spider-Man. Miles Morales as well gets some fantastic suits. I really enjoy the can't remember the name of the suit, was something like the Soul City suit or something like that, and he's got like an old 1930s ragtime kind of hat and everything. Miles is sort of sidelined in this game, but not really. He really comes to like fruition in the end of the game, and it sort of like becomes apparent that like he's the one who's going to be bearing the torch going on forward for the next game. At least that's how it sort of is implied. Basically, at the end of the game, Peter Parker says he's hanging up the webs for a little while, and he needs Spider-Man, aka Miles Morales, to take over for him. We see in the end Norman goes to the prison to try and find out who the identity of the Spider-Man is, and he speaks to Otto Octavius, who is still in jail and still seething and still pissed off with Norman Osborn, and he doesn't tell him the identities. but he has been writing in this book of his plan, basically, of what he's going to do when he gets out of jail, and his plan is the final chapter. The graphics in this game, as I've said, are so good, and it's just really visually stunning to look at. What I didn't like in the game, it's very few, but there are some things that I didn't like in the game. For instance, I didn't like in the first game there was the puzzles, and you had to do the sort of weird puzzly games, and you had to put things together and match stuff, which I didn't mind. It got a little bit repetitive and a little bit bored, but I didn't mind it so much. But this one with the DNA strand thing and the atoms, and you got to take away the different atoms, I really didn't like that at all, and I want to skip that completely. Whereas the other one I didn't mind because it was a little bit more challenging. This one, it just seemed like you're pressing random things and you had to just randomly, it just seemed sort of pointless and it was annoying, so I didn't like that at all. The Mary Jane scenes where you cut to Mary Jane and she's like really slowly walking behind people and electrocuting them is back again, but the Mary Jane sections just really sort of slow the game down a little bit, and they're not that interesting to play. So that would be it with as far as my complaints go. I loved the traversal. I actually really enjoyed the web wings, because you can just, because I did initially think, oh, this is just going to be like Superman, you're going to be flying everywhere and it's going to take away from the whole fun of the webbing and the whole shooting the webs, but well, it just added to it. It just added as additional things, so you could go from webbing to the flying wind tunnel things that you fly through, and that really speeds you up as well. I don't think the storyline was as emotionally hard-hitting as the first game, where Aunt May dies. I thought it felt more streamlined. The second game feels bigger, more bombastic, better, like more villains, more shit going on. Whereas the first one, it felt more streamlined, and it felt Peter, Dr. Octopus, and it was basically that was the storyline, and it sort of wove through that. But this one, it feels like there's a lot more going on. The ending to this game I thought was really good as well. Cindy Moon is revealed at the end of the game also, and she goes on to become the superpowered Silk, and this may also lead into the next game, so I'm assuming they're going to make her be a playable character in the next game as well, so there's that to look forward to. But yeah, it's a fantastic game, and I still haven't finished playing it, so I'm going to get back and play some more, because I know there's a few other little hidden secrets and gems out there to be revealed. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the Spider-Man 2 PlayStation 5 game. Fantastic, well worth the money. Let me know in the comment section down below what you think of the game, and if you haven't already, you can check out my playthrough of the game, but if you're interested in watching that, you can do. And until the next video, I love you very much. God bless. Goodbye.